How you guys doing? This is it, you guys. This is the season finale of Power. It's not Power. Lord Jesus. The Wire. Season 2, episode 12. So listen, buckle up, Buttercup, because y'all know it's the finale. It's a whole lot of stuff going on, and then they setting up for season 3. So you kind of have like the groundwork for season 3 while they're tying up season 2 all at the same time. So we get to the docks. It's the morning time, and the guys are noticing that there's a police boat out in the harbor. They notice that they are fishing out a body, and the crowd gets bigger and bigger. You know, curiosity killed the cat, right? The crowd gets bigger and bigger. They're like, "What's going on over there? What's going on over there?" Now, while this is going on, we see Nikki. He went over to Frank's house. Frank wasn't there. He went back to where the meet was supposed to take place. He sees that Frank's truck is still parked there, but Frank's nowhere around. He's like, okay, what's going on? What happened? He ends up going to the docks. Now, just as Nikki is riding back over to the docks, they're pulling his body out. They bring the body over to land. They show the face. Everybody sees that it's Frank. And of course, all of the dock workers immediately respond because no matter what was going on at the end, everybody loved Frank, right? Everybody knew that Frank was doing his damnedest for them. Nikki rolls up and he sees Frank there, and of course, it's a whole moment with Nikki realizing that Frank is now dead. There's a scene where they have Frankie in the little office area, and his father shows up. He's ready to go after the Greeks. They had to hold him back. They were like, basically, boy, if you don't sit your ass down, like, you ain't going out there after them Greeks. And they told him, they was like, what are you going to do? You're going to go after them, and then what's going to happen? You're going to end up dead. And just at that moment, his dad walks in, and his dad tells him, he's like, let's go. Now, I ain't know where Daddy was taking him, but Daddy took him down to turn himself in. Okay, Daddy took him down to go turn himself in, and while he was down there turning himself in, Detective Freeman was down there, and when he said his name, Freeman perked up like, "Oh snap! This is what we've been looking for." So they got Nikki. Now while this is going on, Bell Stringer, he went to go visit Brother Mousson. And he's, extended his apologies and, sorry, glad you're okay. Whoever did this, we got him. Brother Mousson was like, nah, I'm good. I'll handle it. He was like, well, what you mean you'll handle it? He was like, I said, I got it. I'll handle it. If somebody came after me, I'll handle it. He said, and you can let Avon know that whatever this business arrangement that we had, he's released from it. And Stringer's kind of looking at him like, really? He was like, yeah, we good. He said, well, like, you sure you don't want to let me know who it was? Like, I can, take care of that for you. And he was like, nah, the people who came after me. And Stringer was like, people? The people who came after you? And he just kind of gave Stringer that look. So basically what we know is that he suspects that Stringer's on some bullshit, right? I don't think he's got it all figured out yet, but he got enough of it figured out that Stringer's on some bullshit. Now, while this is going on, we see my boy, Bubs, right? We see Bubs. There was a shooting down in Baltimore, and Bubs took this as an opportunity. Him and his sidekick, he's still running with old boy. They're going to rob the ambulance, right? They done went up in the ambulance and took whatever it was they could take, and he ends up getting arrested. Well, who's the first person he ends up calling? Kima, right? And this is where they're setting up for season 3. So let me just go ahead. I think I'm going to just go ahead and get all of this out the way, because this is the season 3 stuff. So Kima and McNulty go down to get Bubs, and Kima is like, listen, you robbing an ambulance, you're going to have to give me something. And he was like, I don't have nothing to give you. Like, and so they go back and forth. And then finally, he talks about when he saw Cheese get shot. He said, well, Avon's crew and Prop Joe's crew, they've been kind of running together. They work in the towers. It's like, it's not a war. It's like they sharing it. And Kima and McNulty were like, they sharing it? Like, hold up. And so from there, it's like those breadcrumbs. From there, They they go out to the towers, they take pictures to see what's going on, and then from there they follow in Prop Joe, and they end up seeing Prop Joe and Stringer Bell meeting up. Right now, what we know that Prop Joe was giving Stringer Bell that good stuff, and they asked Bubs about it. They were like, well, what's the stuff like down in the towers? And Bubs was like, it was some trash, but now it's some good stuff. And so they putting all the pieces together. Now, Prop Joe had met with the second in command Greek, and he let him know, listen, we about to leave town. The supply gonna be dry for about a month, but when I get back, but my people will find you. Like, we out, but my people will find you. But it's gonna be about a month. And Prop Joe was like, all right, because that's about all I got left is a month's worth. He said, we got you. Prop Joe tried to ask him where he was going. Good and damn well he wasn't telling nobody that. And from there, they realized that something was going on between Stringer Bell and Prop Joe. That the two of them are working together. However that sliced out, however that played itself down the pipe, that they're working together. Which, of course, again, is setting us up for going into season 3. Now, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, Carver and Herc, they got them sitting on the house waiting for Nikki to get home. And, of course, Nikki, we already told y'all that Nikki done went all around town, and now he's actually in custody. The problem is, nobody called Carver and Herc. They are literally sitting on the house all day, all night, till the next morning. Until they finally, go off. They go knocking on the door, and they go demanding, his father, if he don't turn himself in the next 5 minutes, then we're going to do this and do that. And he was like, he already turned himself in. Like, he been in custody since yesterday. I don't understand what y'all talking about. So, of course, they are totally pissed off. And Herc and them were having a conversation this whole time about how he doesn't, the squad just doesn't respect them. Like, they're like the go boys, the do boys or whatever. And nobody really respects them. And so they're upset. And they go down there and they go off on Lieutenant Daniels. And he apologized and stuff. He was like, listen, stuff just been moving so fast. Like, I'm sorry we didn't give you a call. And Carver lets him know. He said, well, listen, I tell you what. There are some, there's a sergeant position open. And I'm going to go ahead and put in for it. Because last I checked, I was a sergeant. So I'm out of here. And, of course, Herc don't really have the same options. But Herc said he's going to go back to narcotics. He was like, at least in narcotics, people respected me. And I was getting I felt like I was doing something. Here, they just got us doing stupid stuff just to get us out the way, I feel like. Now, Daniels goes down to let Stan know that Frank is dead. So, basically, your little rival with Frank is pretty much a done deal because he dead. And, he asked him, he's asking him about pastrami sandwich. Like, listen, how we going to resolve this? And he was like, I'm going for the gusto. He was like, you would do that to your son-in-law? He said, I told my daughter not to marry his ass. He said, Lieutenant Daniels was like, well, I tell you what. Everybody had to write a report, including those FBI agents. And everybody is going to report that, yes, he did hit you, but you also called him out his name and you made some very disparaging comments to him before it happened. That's not to say it justifies what he did, but it's not going to make it look like it was just an unsolicited attack either. So he said, well, I tell you what. And he gives this long list of demands of what he wants from pastrami sandwich before he can go and, he got to sit on the bench for XYZ amount of days and he got to do this and he got to do that, right? But ultimately, I think it's like a month. After a month, Daniels can get him back on his squad, which is ultimately what he wanted anyway. So pastrami sandwich going to be all right, child. At least for now. So Freeman, the other reason why Freeman was down there was he was getting remember when, I don't know if I said this in my review. I think I might have missed it. The hitman for the Greeks, when he made a comment to White Mike, and he asked him about a hit. And White Mike was like, well, does he still have his hand and his feet? If he got his hand and his feet, it wasn't us. And so Freeman caught that on the wire. And so Freeman asked Baltimore to pull all of the homicides that they had where the person was missing a head and feet. And so Freeman got the pictures, and it's like 10 or 15 of them. But he got the pictures, and so again, they're getting one step closer to connecting these dots. Now, the Greek and is it Stannis? Spiros. The Greek and Spiros are meeting down at a hotel, and basically they're making their exit plans. They're like, you know what? It's time to cut bait. Like, it's time to go. We got to get up out of here. And Stannis is Spiros is like, well, we got one last piece of business. We got another shipment. It's sitting on the dock. And the Greek was like, I tell you what, we're gonna have to just leave that there, because at the end of the day, the police are all over the place. I think we've been doing really good to stay ahead, keeping one step ahead of the game. But right now, it's too hot. We can't chance it. He was like, you gonna leave? It was like it's a truck full of dope. He was like, you're gonna leave all that dope on the dock? He was like, listen, it's leave that dope on the dock and cut our losses or chance going to jail. Like, ain't nobody trying to do all of that. And he said, we just gonna pull out another passport with a new name and get the fuck up out of here. Now, so that's when Spiros ends up calling. He ends up calling his hitman, because his hitman was sitting on Frankie's house too, even though Herc and Carver ain't see him, but they were there too. So he calls his people off, like, listen, we done. Baltimore is about to be a wrap. So Daniels has to have a status meeting with the major. Well, actually, he's not the major now. He's the head of the whole thing, the commissioner. And he basically lets them know what's going on. And everything is cool except for the fact that they still haven't cleared those bodies. Everything has been, worked out. And so, of course, Rawls is like, so everybody got what they wanted except for me. Like, I still got them bodies on me. Like, I still got those 14 bodies. So, we got the drugs, we got the this, we got the union, but I didn't get what I wanted. So, of course, Rawls is not happy about that. And Daniels is, like, basically on the hook until he clears those bodies, right? So, so Frankie is, they got Nikki now, and Nikki's talking. Nikki is giving them whatever it is that they need. And he told him, he said, listen, they promised me that they would be able to take care of my cousin, and honestly, that's really, that's what we were trying to do. He went to go meet with them, and he said, he wouldn't let me go, He told me not to go. And had I gone, I'd be dead too, And he tells them about the fact that, and so they tell him, they said, listen, let me explain something to you. They bring him all the evidence they have against Ziggy. And they said, listen, even without that witness, Ziggy going to jail. So all of that, they was blowing smoke up your butt. Like, they was never going to be able to stop your cousin from going to jail. We got where he purchased the gun. We got when he purchased the gun. Like, we have so much other evidence on him outside of that one witness statement and his own confession that he ain't going nowhere. So they were blowing smoke, They said, but your uncle was here yesterday, and he was willing to work with us. And the only stipulation was he wanted the drug charges against you dropped, and he wanted Ziggy to be put in a nicer prison because he knew he couldn't avoid him going to jail. And so Nikki realized then, wow, like, my uncle was still looking out for me. Even through all of this, my uncle still had my back. And so Nikki told it all. He told as much as he could tell. Of course, when they got to the top, he didn't know who the Greek's real name was, and they showed him pictures. And of course, they thought there's a picture of Spiros, the Greek, and another guy in a suit standing in front of the hotel. Remember when I told y'all they lost him at the hotel? And they thought that the guy in the suit was the Greek. And Nick was like, nah, that's the Greek right there. And they realized that, so now they got a face. They still don't have a name. But in that moment, they realized, damn, we've been looking at the wrong person. Like, we thought this was the Greek from those pictures, and it's not. So they got a face. But they still don't have a name, and they still don't have any way to connect all the dots. So Nikki gives them as much as he can, and that helps them, connect a whole lot more than what they thought they could connect. But they putting him in witness protection, So he's gonna be under the protection with the marshals. Now, the thing that he was able to give them some more breadcrumbs was about with the girls. Now he told them, he said, we didn't know about the girls. We didn't know the girls were in those tanks. We didn't know they were dead. We didn't know nothing about those girls. But he said that they told us, don't worry about the guy that did the girls, that was responsible, because we handled it. And so they were able to give him the breadcrumbs to go back to Philly. So, once again, the FBI agent is there. He took the notes. He already faxed it in. Lester told him, Lester said, listen, Freeman. He said, listen, you need to keep this quiet. Like, there's a leak somewhere. I ain't figured out where it is yet, but you need to keep this as tight to the vest as you can. And so he was getting ready to fax the report in, and he stopped it. And he thought about it. And so then he decided to call his contact. And come to find out, the guy that he thought was the contact working for them was not the person he thought he was working with. And that's when he realized that he was the one passing on the information, and he was the one that actually created the link. And of course he felt bad about it, because he realized that that's how they've been keeping a step ahead of them the whole time. Now, Beatty and Bump end up going up to Philly. Now, what we find out, let me give a little side note here, because this is going to be important in season 3. It's not that big of a deal in season 2, but it's a big deal in season 3. Now, remember, Lieutenant Daniels and his wife, she wasn't happy with him, not retiring and staying on the job, and they fell out or whatever. But what we see is that they're basically living in separate rooms. Like, he got his own room, she got her own room. They are not together at all. The other thing I noticed in this scene, it was a scene where Lieutenant Daniels didn't have no shirt on. And I always thought he just walked crazy because he just walked crazy. But now that I'm looking at it again, he looks like he was a bodybuilder or something. Like, his physique, even though he's a small, petite guy. But if you saw them wings on the back, baby, I don't know what kind of weights he was lifting. But I said, okay, Daniels, I see you, bruh. You did that on purpose. You could have had on a t-shirt or something. You wanted us to see all of that. Anyway, back to the story. So, Bump and Beatty head up to Philadelphia, go to the port of Philly to go trace, to go try to get some more information and trace on what happened on the dock, because Nikki gave them enough information for them to know that the docks, something went down at the docks. So they get up there, and the guy is just totally inept. He's like, what y'all talking about? And he finally ends up letting them know that there are some videotapes. So, baby, they are able to go through the videotapes. And from the videotapes, they're able to find when they ran down, going back to like episode 2 or 3, when they ran down the guy up at the port of Philadelphia, and of course they ended up killing him. So they're able to get enough information, so they end up going back to the bodyguard with all of the information that they had. Because the guy they had arrested, one of the bodyguards, the enforcers, they play him the audio tape that they have of him on the radio. On the phone with White Mike saying if he got a head and feet, and then they showed him the pictures, and they were able to connect one of those headless torsos to one of the people to the guy from the ship that they killed. And then they showed him the videotape of him chasing the guy down. So they were like, listen, we know you were there. We got all the evidence we need to put you on death row. So the minute he heard, now he didn't have a whole lot to say until he heard death row. The minute he heard death row, baby, he was like, okay, let me sing like a jaybird. And he told them everything he knew. He said, listen, I didn't kill him. I was there, but I didn't kill him. And he told them who killed him. He told them it was the Greek. And they were like, well, what's his name? He was like, I don't know. Like, the Greek. Like, don't nobody know. And I think he was able to give him a name, but we already know that ain't even his real name. But they were able to get, they were able to get enough out of him, because they said, well, where is he staying? And he said he's staying at a hotel downtown. And they said the name of the hotel, the one that they had followed him to the first time. And he was like, nah, that's a decoy. That ain't the real hotel. He said, I can show you where the real hotel is. So they end up doing a raid on the real hotel. But, of course, they were gone. They were one step ahead of them the whole time. They were actually already gone. You could have gone long. But what they did find, the Greek left behind, he left behind the thing that he uses to kill people, the thing that he uses to strangle people with, and they were able to put that up in evidence. Now, unfortunately, they ain't catch him. Okay, the Greek and his number two got away. They got on that plane, honey, and they was gone. But they do have a little bit of evidence. That don't mean a whole lot. You know, it's international at this point. And again, they don't even know his real name. Now, Omar met up with his man, the blind guy, Pete, his boy, and he's telling him what happened with Musa. He's saying, "Look, they set me up," and he was like, "That shit, Stringer, that was never real. Like that was a setup from the beginning." And of course, he feels bad. He was like, "Man, I should have never." I should have never hooked that up because I knew something didn't feel right in my spirit. I knew something wasn't right about it. I should have never hooked, let Prop Joe set that up. And Omar was like, it is what it is. He said, but, I can't figure out why I got set up. Why did he set me up? But he set me up. He said, so, I got to get him. And, Pete was like, well, I know I can't talk you out of it, but I sure wish you would just leave it alone and move on. He was like, nah, that ain't going to happen. Now, Kima, I don't know if I told y'all this or not, but Kima's girlfriend is pregnant. They're having a baby. Kima is not 100% on board, okay? And I think it has a lot to do with what happened when she got shot and the job and all of that. I think it had a lot to do with all of that, But girlfriend told her point blank, listen, either I need you, she said, listen, when that baby get here, I need all of y'all on deck. So either you gonna get with it or we gonna have to figure something else out because this is not okay. Like, this the way you've been running around here acting and pouting, that's not cool. Again, going into season 3. Now, down on the docks, Horse and them are kind of just making things happen, without Frank, not really knowing what's going to happen with the union. They just trying to make it all happen. And they realize that there's a shipment just sitting there, waiting for somebody to come pick it up. But there's nothing in the system about somebody picking it up. And Horse realizes that must be one of those shipments from the Greeks. And he tells old boy, he said, lose it, leave it there. Lose it. So they're still watching. So they let it drop down. Less than them, they follow it, they call it in, they say keep an eye out on this particular truck. Later on, they do open up what's in the truck and they find that it's full of drugs. And they said, look, we're going to leave it here and hopefully somebody come looking for it and we can pick them up. But remember, they left it hanging, so ain't nobody coming to look for it. It was something, I forgot now. Oh, I know what I remembered. Okay. Now, Stringer goes to visit Avon and let Avon know what happened with Brother Musa. And, of course, he's pretending like he don't know what happened, how he got shot, who put the hit out on him. And Avon is like, yo, we got to go handle that. And Stringer was like, well, I asked him who did it. Avon was like, you asked him what? He said, I asked him who did it. He said, you don't never ask nobody like Musa who did it. Either he going to tell you or he going to handle it. But you asking him who did it, that makes us look crazy. Because we should be on top of our stuff. We should know. He said, well, I told him, he told us that basically the arrangement is dead. Avon was like, the arrangement is dead. He said, I put a whole lot of money and effort into bringing him down here. Like, that's not cool, the way this whole situation went. So finally he asked, Stringer, well, what's going on? Like, what's the word on the street? He was like, listen, we having a real rough time right now. Like, it is what it is. If we not getting the right product, we not making no money. Like, that's just what it boils down to. And so Avon, I'm sorry. And so Avon says, look, go ahead and make the deal with Prop Joe. And I think in that moment, Avon realizes that that's what Stringer wanted all along. And that basically they went through all this just to end up where Stringer was at the beginning. I don't think he's figured out that Stringer had anything to do with the Musa thing. But he's kind of giving Stringer the side eye. He is kind of giving him the side eye a little bit. And I'm thinking, that ain't looking too good. The way they left it, he tried to, do his pound through the glass. And it took Avon a second to hit him. But you could tell Avon thinking. Avon ain't no dummy, okay? Avon ain't no dummy. So, down to the Union Hall, the FBI goes in. And they let them know, listen, either y'all need to make y'all need to have some elections, put some new people in place, or we gonna come over here and take over. The FBI is gonna come over here and take over, and we shutting this union. We shutting this local down. Well, I understand loyalty. I understand union. I've been a part of a union for a very long time, but I've also been a part of a union that was in trouble, and we had to do what we had to do to get ourselves out of trouble. They do the exact opposite. They are like, you know, basically we vote for Frank, one man, one voice. We all stand together, we all fall. Okay. I mean, I guess they thought it was an idle threat by the FBI, but the FBI ended up shutting their ass down. Next thing you know, they got a padlock on the door. Okay, okay. Um, I just I get it that Frank died and they were all in their feelings, but at the end of the day, the show must go on. And Frank fought really hard to save the union, and y'all basically was like, "Screw it, we don't care. We're gonna reelect Frank, even though he dead and he can't be in charge. We're gonna reelect Frank anyway, just to show our loyalty." Okay then, that was dumb. So anyway, we see Frankie get up. He's in witness protection. We see we see Frankie get up, and he goes into the union hall to go work, and there really ain't no work there for him. He's got his marshal following him, and then we had this moment of him looking off into the distance crying. The FBI guy did let Daniels know that he was the reason why, inadvertently, but he was the reason why they weren't able to get the Greek. Now they got everything else. They cleared the bodies. They were able to find out who did it. They got the drugs. They got the prostitution, at least temporarily. Temporarily. But they were never able to get the Greek, which of course is who they really wanted at the top, at the very top. We see everybody down, down to the bar doing what they do down to the bar, child, getting drunk, having drinks. We see McNulty flirting with the DA and all that good stuff. And it's kind of like it's bittersweet because yes, it's over, but they just didn't get who they wanted. They got a lot. Daniels got what he needed. He redeemed himself, and everybody got what they wanted, but they just didn't get to the top. They didn't get to the top of the food chain. But then we kind of see what went down, right? So here's how it all ended. Okay. I told y'all they shut down the union. I told you the Greek got away. Stan still don't have his van back. It's still traveling the world, and people still sending him bumper stickers, child. Now it's almost like, damn you, he's like, damn you, Frank, um, they're on to, like I said, they set up for season 3, so they're on to the whole Prop Joe thing. Prop Joe got his shipment in. His people found, the Greeks people did find him, and he got his new shipment in. And in with the drugs also came some more women. So that's why I said temporarily they shut it down. But once they were able to, get the police off of their butt, they were right back where they started. Zicky went to jail. Horse did get indicted. I mean, I don't know whatever ended up happening with him, but he got indicted. Frankie tried to clear him. Frankie tried to let them know, listen, Horse don't know shit, right? But he still was in jail. I mean, we saw him in court. We didn't see him go to jail. Beatty is back down on the docks, and of course everything, because the union is gone. Their little area, their little hangout areas, all abandoned and everything. They're packing up. Freeman. We see Freeman packing up the little area where they was working. It's all empty and abandoned now. And ultimately, the one little picture is still sitting there, which is the Greek, right? Yeah, that's pretty much. I just want to make sure I got it all. But that's pretty much it. So we're getting ready for season 3, y'all. So that's what it is. Let me know what y'all think. Drop it in those comments. Peace.